morning, 8 o'clock on the start of a Wednesday. Here we are, second cup, midway through the week.
Trying to get over the hump here. I am feeling
You
beat today.
Me
Oh
too.
my gosh.
You know this is my least favorite day in the entire world. And
I'm getting my butt beat right now.
yeah, I'm on the struggle bus here. I don't know what is happening, but I am tired.
Feeling it. Feeling it.
Yeah,
Hope you're feeling good on this Wednesday.
Can I be honest? Maybe it's the weather.
The weather sucks. Spring in Western New York, we know, is much of a fallacy. And you think, 50s, allergies, April showers. We're talking April snow showers, potentially.
I'm just over it.
John, the weather's not good today. I took the dog on a walk yesterday, and my fingers, you saw the picture.
So I am genuinely concerned about you. I'm not even kidding, because so you showed me this picture after you were walking the dog, and the tips of your fingers were yellow.
Yellow, purple, like just the absolute rainbow.
Can you show this picture?
Yeah, I can send it to John.
Lack of sunshine is right, Linda. I'm telling you, Heather says it's the cold and no sun. I know. Probably a good day to go skiing. Maybe, I guess.
You probably could. I mean, I'll send it in Slack, yeah.
Are the slopes even still open?
I think so. They were supposed to close this week, but I'm not sure if they have. I mean, honestly, it's a good day for them to keep it going.
Yeah, it's just gross. Yep, Joyce, exactly. Peter says, Taylor dropping the S-bomb. I'm shocked at you, surprised, proud of you, Taylor.
What, I said it sucks? Anita, yes, I think so. I'm self-diagnosed, Raynaud's syndrome. It's the narrowing of the blood vessels. So you're obviously colder.
There is definitely a circulation problem, my girl. There is something going on.
And I brought it up to the doctor a bunch of times, and they've just said, oh, you need more like iron in your diet. And I took iron pills for a while. I took magnesium pills. Saw no difference. In the summer, I'm usually better, but like no matter what, my hands are always cold. I sleep with a heating pad on my feet at night.
Oh my God, I would die.
Like, my feet get so cold, I can't go to sleep. I'm that uncomfortable.
Anita says it's actually pretty easy to diagnose.
Yep. But there are not many treatments for it. Kelsey and oh yeah, there they are.
Okay, hello.
Ignore the dog toys in the back.
I look at the tips of your fingers.
They're almost the color of my nails.
Okay, can we talk for a second? Like, I know this is gross.
Yeah. It's not my best look. It's not my best look by far.
Your fingers look like raisins.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's like when you stay in the shower too long and your fingers start to like
pruny.
Yeah. But look at the tips of your fingers and how they compare to the rest of your hand.
Okay, Anita says it's definitely Raynaud's syndrome, 100%. Yeah, that's what it is. And look, other people have it too, and there's not much you can do. Kelsey says it doesn't matter what the weather is today. I'm going to matinee bingo.
Oh, cool.
Going to make friends with 7-year-old women.
Love that for you.
That's awesome. Yeah, Barb, it's not fun. And I tried the entire time during the walk to like regain feeling, like I'm blown on. I was wearing gloves. It's not like I was just out here,
right?
Without gloves or without trying to keep them warm, but I just could not. As soon as I lose that circulation and it starts to get cold, I can't really bring it back.
Okay, so Kelsey's an EMT. She's really smart. She's one of our friends from Jamestown. Do your lips turn blue also?
Not from what I've seen. I've never noticed that. But no, I don't think so. My toes and my fingers are.
And Sue.
My mom's been telling me that. Yeah, it's really annoying. My fingers and toes are the same. Raynaud's just trash. I use a heating pad and a heat holder socks. I have had like warming socks before, and I've had warming gloves before. Nothing works long term. Like I have to there's like a threshold. As soon as I get cold, I start to lose feeling. Once I lose feeling, I can't really. It's hard to gain it back. So I have to like maintain warmth as much as I can. But sometimes I'll be in my house and it'll be like 68 in there, and I will start to lose feeling. Does it hurt? Yeah, kind of. It's weird. It's like a numbness. You've had something go numb before. It's like
pins and needles.
Yeah, kinds of pins and needlesy. It starts to be painful it's more painful when you're trying to get the feeling back because all that blood rushes back and it's ugh.
Barbara says you need to show your doctor that picture. Keep a log what's going on. That's really smart.
I've done it, girl. I've shown them the picture and they're like, oh yeah, okay.
I agree with Marguerite. Be careful sleeping with a heating pad. Most of them have warnings.
Yeah,
you gotta be careful.
This one's been fine for a little bit, so knock on wood.
Cold
Well, I hope it's okay.
Laser therapy? What is that? It rejuvenates.
corpuscle or corpuscles.
What the hell
What
is
is
that?
a corpuscle?
Linda from Brand, help me out here. Yelly, I hate it so much. There are no long-term solutions. The tingling is
Yeah,
sucky, she
it's like
says.
it's not the most painful thing in the world, but it's a weird feeling, and I'm like, uh-oh, might
Listen
lose
to
a
this.
finger here.
Aunt Sue says, my girlfriend's fingers would turn like that when she would be in the freezer section of a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
Anita, I'm right there with you. Taylor's talking about it being 68, and I'm like, can we turn it down?
I literally I'd feel my hands this morning, and he was like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, and then the more if I get stressed, like if I'm like working really hard or something, my fingers will get colder.
Oh my
feet are
gosh.
always cold. I keep an extra pair of socks in my bag, and I have a space heater at my desk.
I love this from Howard. Maybe a really hot date, and they can help you stay warm. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure that would help, but they're not ready for me to put my cold feet all over them.
Anita, me too. Thank you very much. Dying at 68.
Oh, 68. I usually keep my apartment at 68. I don't think 68 is bad, but it does make me cold.
Oh, I
if the
love
sun's not shining in.
66.
Okay, cold laser therapy, known as low-level laser therapy, is a non-invasive treatment. How much money is it going to cost me, girl? Interesting. I'll have to look into that. So yeah, thanks for the support, you guys. Thanks for trying to help me. But you know what I need? I just need warmer weather to come. I need temps in the 60s. If I can just get to that point, usually it stops happening. 64, Anita.
Yes.
In the
love
house.
that. Here for it. So funny.
Oh my gosh.
Kelsey loves your Get Ready With Me segment. I don't understand that trend.
You've never seen the original guy?
I saw it and I was like, okay, is that really what he does? A banana peel and gets up at like 3 o'clock in the morning? What is wrong with him?
That's the joke. Like, no one knows. This guy, who kind of chronicles his morning routine, and he's very dramatic, and the times are constantly changing, and they don't really make sense. And he's doing all these weird things with the water bottle and the banana peel in the face. So it just became a thing. Everyone saw that video and was like, okay, this guy's kind of nuts.
Right.
So let's kind of poke fun at it and pretend we're doing the same thing. So I'm glad everyone got to have some fun with that too.
That's cute. So we're talking about money this morning and possible tariffs that President Trump is likely to, expected to discuss, likely to implement later today. So at 4 o'clock this afternoon, he's got a huge press conference in the Rose Garden outside the White House. And one of the things that he wants to discuss is these reciprocal tariffs on basically every country that does business with the United States. And, the biggest question mark here is what this actually means for all of us.
Right.
Realistically, it's going to mean higher prices in the short term and hopefully lower prices in the long term.
So I think that's the big question, being the impact, like you mentioned. And we're not just talking about these reciprocal tariffs. There are other tariffs as well.
Right.
There are tariffs on lumber, tariffs on alcohol, and there have been a lot of them that have been discussed. So it really kind of gets bogged down in your brain sometimes when we're talking about, tariffs here, tariffs there. And you're like, okay, well, what does this mean? What does this mean for me? How is this going to impact me? And the goal, the president says, is an American first mentality. Let's make things in America. Let's stop relying on other countries to get our goods and products, and let's do it here, which I feel like sometimes sounds easier said than done. And, manufacturers are going to have to ramp up their production and moving. And, in the long run, hopefully it'll be good for us, but I do think there's concern about what happens in the meantime.
So the president says this is all to raise money for the federal government and protect the U.S. industry from unfair competition. So what could this actually impact? Produce, we're talking about, think about like what we get, avocados from Mexico.
Right.
Avocados from Mexico.
Free shavacado.
Okay. And then we're talking about electronics. Think about like Samsung. Where's all of that stuff? Your iPhone made in China.
This guy. But they're ramping up production
in the U.S.
In the U.S. in response, which is exactly, I think, what the president wants to happen.
100%.
We're talking cars and car parts, steel and aluminum, beer cans.
Clothing. All of the clothing that is made in China or in Thailand or Vietnam. Can you imagine how much we're exactly everything?
Yeah.
I mean, you go to a place, and I'm just going to use H&M as an example because that's really like one of the only places that I can shop where clothes fit me.
Edtrand.
Not today, but it's true. Like H&M is one of those places that is reliably.
You can find something.
Yeah, it's reliable. Period. But like you could go buy a T-shirt for $6.99, or you can go buy a sweater for $30. How much more is that going to cost us knowing that all of that stuff is made in, developing countries?
Well, how many things do you have? If you just did like a search around your house and you looked through the fine print on the back of something, would it say made in China, made in anywhere else? All those things will cost more.
Realistically, even like, so, Donald Trump's ties, he's got that fashion line, that clothing line. Years ago, I was buying his ties. They're honestly, I know it's kind of like, it's ridiculous to even say this, because like the jokes that he wears ties that are too long, they really were too long on me.
He just prefers a long tie.
Right. But those are made in China.
Okay. Does he still sell those?
I honestly, I don't know. But I stopped buying them because they were too long.
Right.
And then Kathy says Mexico is the #2 supplier of clothing for us.
Gotta be in.
Somebody was talking about, Mark, here, distillers will feel it bad because most of the bourbon goes overseas. Crystal says, I've been ditching as many subscriptions as I can, cutting costs where I can. And that was kind of my question this morning. And I still have that question for so many of you. What are you doing now to either say, okay, I know this is coming down the pike, but what can I do now to mitigate impact in the future? Is there something that you're doing right now or something that you plan on doing to
try to get ahead of it?
Yeah.
And, maybe
Keep
if you're
costs low.
budgeting, if you're budgeting for the weekend, you have like extra money left over, maybe you cut back on a couple more things so that pile of money for, just in case gets a little bigger.
Sure.
Because if everything's going to be costing more.
Kelly says that's fine, but we need some help while these tariffs are supposed to be working. So what do you do? What's the option here? What should be done to help? Is it the federal government's responsibility now to say,
let's make things cheaper for the consumer,
Right.
because we're not cutting off ties, but
Raising.
changing our relationships with other countries with what we share and how much that costs.
Kayak Man Claire. I'm going to say your name is really Claire Kayakman. I don't really know, but
Maybe?
I'm assuming your name is Claire. This was approached the exact wrong way, leaving everything as it is. The president could have just met with all USA executives and taxed them until they moved production into the USA, leaving all external countries alone, and things would just change naturally. That's interesting. But but here's the other question. Does the president of the United States wield that kind of power with private companies?
It depends on the company, probably. It depends on who we're talking about. Howard says a 6-pack of 16-ounce beers has increased over $3 the past 2 weeks at most or all stores. Good thing it's not football season.
Kathy says it's not going to bring many back. Look at the generations. The younger ones have had no desire to work in factories. It'll take 5+ years to get a factory going here. And Anita, to that point that we were just talking about, now if the government mitigated the damages, then we'd be okay.
Yeah, well, how would you feel if this wasn't necessarily, because we're still in Trump's first 100 days, and we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I wonder what day it is. But what if this was a plan instead for, 6 months from now or a year from now? Like if he laid out over the course of his 4 years, our plan is to become more reliant on American goods. Would you feel differently if it was a situation where it was like, okay, down the line, you can maybe plan ahead and maybe mitigate those risks?
What I'd like to see is some metrics, so we always talk, and I'm sure it's the same thing in your place of business, your work, the buzzword right now is KPI, key point indicators. And what is that metric that we are trying to achieve here to show that this is working or that this has been a success? And to Ryan's point, tariffs are going to suck short term, he says, but it's already bringing more jobs back to the USA. So is there, a point where we say, okay, if we make it to this point where X amount of companies are coming back or building, manufacturing facilities or plants or whatever it is in the US, and we see more jobs coming back or more jobs going online, or we're at this point in the economy, then we know that these tariffs have worked. What is that metric?
And when is it going to stop sucking? You know
Right,
what I mean?
yeah.
Ryan says it's going to suck short term, but what is short term exactly? How long will we feel the negative impacts before we start to feel the positive impacts? And will we start to see the positive impacts on one thing before the other? So do cars get cheaper and then clothes get cheaper,
Right.
or is it the other way around? It's hard to track that and to know where we're going to feel it and when it's going to feel better.
Sure. Sarah, why can't we raise money for the government by taxing billionaires and corporations? All of us contribute more than they do, is what she's saying. So she's talking about tax cuts for the rich and the powerful. But the middle America person is suffering. And, I also want to bring this question up. Hold on a second, because it was this point that you made, Jenny. This might be a dumb question, she says, but do you have any idea if I'm coming back from Fort Erie, for instance, with groceries, if I'm going to have to pay an extra 25% when I get back to Buffalo? That is a great question. And
Oh,
something
if you
that
were bringing it over the border, if you went to Canada to get something and brought it back.
That's a great question. Something that we can look into today because I think a lot of people have that same question. And let's face it, so many people who live in Ontario are going to places like the fashion outlet malls or
Trader
Joe's. Exactly. So if you're coming even from across the border to go shopping, then going back to Canada, it might be the same thing. So what is the actual impact? Do you have to pay? That's
You have to
something we
declare that?
I don't know.
I don't
And
think so.
is there a certain dollar amount now? Kathy says yes.
Who's charging that at the border?
I don't know.
That's a great question. We have to look into that. Keith kind of preaching patience here, saying, give it time, prices will settle, countries will come to agreements. This is a talking point to spread fear.
In whom?
And,
Amongst whom?
well, it's happening. So you can't not talk about it.
See, and
It has a whole name. The president's
Right.
calling it Liberation Day. And I don't know if you're saying that we're trying to spread fear or if the president's trying to spread fear. Not really sure what that part means.
I mean, unless what you're saying is that the idea here is to create that panic, that like that facade of or not facade's the wrong word, to create some sort of
Like uncertainty.
yeah, so that people. I don't know. Like, what would the fear be? Why would we want to be fearful? Why would they want to make us fearful?
So people are doing the research for us, though, on this question. Judette says, great question. We're going to Toronto tomorrow for the weekend, planning on buying stuff, but I wasn't thinking about claiming the small things. Uh-oh. Ryan says, according to Google, yes, if you drive across the border, U.S. to Canada with groceries exceeding your personal exemption limits, you may be subject to a 25% surtax on the value of those goods, in addition to regular duties and taxes as a result of Canada's retaliatory tariffs against U.S. goods. What are those personal exemption limits?
Right. So this is a great question. We're going to look into this today, and that's why we love Second Cup. Because,
Always great ideas.
Yeah, you guys have the questions. We want to find answers for you to make sure that you're in the know. So when we can raise these questions, and as Barbara says, great question. And do we pay Canada if we bring something over from the U.S.? There are so many question marks that are still out there. Michael says, these two people seem pretty incompetent. Why would Channel 7 put them on when they have no clue? Michael, good morning to you. I am so glad that we can share your voice this morning because it is so important to share voices on all sides of every issue. And certainly your issue is there. And we are certainly willing and able to look into something. And listen, we appreciate sharing your voice. And I hope that you have milk in your Cheerios tomorrow morning instead of urine.
Thanks for being here with us. Appreciate you.
Friend. Cindy, good morning to you. Tariff increases are already visible. America has more imports than exports. Interesting. And so, Jenny, to that same point, I literally went grocery shopping there on Monday, but there were a few things I need to get, like gluten-free flour and stuff that we don't have available here that's affordable, and I'm assuming it would be a lot more.
Okay, yeah, that's a great point.
Charlie, good morning to you. How come you all never report the truth about tariffs? It's always one-sided. What tariffs does Canada put on U.S. goods? Spell it out. That's a great point, too. We know, look, that there is a lot on both sides, right? And I think the reason why perhaps you're feeling that way, and I think maybe the mentality here, at least for us, is not necessarily what Canada is charging us and why the president is doing what he's doing, but it's more of the impact on the people who live in our community.
Right. We're trying to talk about what this means for us, what this means for you, and we're not trying to come off one-sided by any means. We're just trying to talk about the impact on all sides and what this means. And you know what? You know, we can look into the numbers. You know, the tariffs on Canada that they have on us, and that's the point of these reciprocal tariffs.
Exactly.
Is, you know, putting tariffs on countries just like they have on us. And that's understood, but it doesn't mean that there's no impact and, you know, we won't start to see things for the better or worse.
Juliana says the Canadian dollar is too low. Canadians are not shopping in the U.S. The 25% tariff fee or tax is a money grab. The U.S. will collect from the other country. If they want to continue business here in the U.S., the other countries will pay. Look, in the short term, at least, we're all going to pay.
Sounds like it.
So we just got to kind of keep an eye on our personal finances in the short term. And Anita's right. Yeah, we live closer to the border than most of the country, so it impacts us a lot more.
So many people get things. I mean, the border's so close. We talked to a lumber company locally, and they say they were getting 60 to 70% of their lumber from Canada, because it's not like it's miles and miles away. It's almost across the street.
Right.
So if they have it at a good price, why not get it there? So they got to make a lot of adjustments.
It's so interesting to think that Fort Erie is literally just across the river, and
Mm-hmm.
while it seems like it's just another Western New York town, it's literally in another country. So again, we'll just keep an eye on that and monitor what the president has to say today at 4:00. So we'll be sure to cover that and make sure that you are able to understand the impact and what you might or might not be paying at the border.
Yeah, let's keep talking about it. Let's continue the conversation.
Okay, Peggy. Let's move on to this one because I agree, Peggy. Let's talk about it. It's an interesting conversation.
Let's bring it up. You bring it up. We'll talk about it. Peggy says, wondering why we're not talking about Kathy Hochul letting out inmates. No solution for safety inside the jail at all. So she's referring to the effort to get inmates or take inmates out or identify these inmates who can be let out because of the low staffing that they're experiencing.
Short staffing inside these facilities all across New York. We know a couple of thousand of COs were terminated from their position because they were part of that illegal wildcat strike. But now in this memo from the state, they're basically saying it is time to release certain inmates because of these staffing levels so that we are not housing more people than perhaps we can handle. And, these are non-violent criminals. These are people who are close to their approval date for release. So what do we think about that? Do we think that this is the right thing to do, or do we think that they should have to stay in? And what's I don't know. What do we do here? What's the solution?
It's interesting to see. I mean, the headline itself is like, we're letting inmates go? What do you mean? Why are we doing that? But when you think about the staffing shortage is not new.
Right.
And then you got rid of these COs who were involved in this illegal strike that happened. Now I can only imagine what it's like in there now. And we know that the ratios were,
Already high.
Already high. You were dealing with a lot of inmates and not a lot of corrections officers. So I can only imagine what it's like if these prisons are full and you got, only a couple of people. If someone calls in sick, what do you do?
Kim says it's ridiculous that she's letting them out because she fired the COs, while Peggy says the inmates being released are non-violent. Early release happens all the time in jails. Elizabeth says instead of finding a solution, she's going to just send people out. The people she's releasing are most likely not the safety issue. So what is the solution here? Is it, I guess we have to look at the root cause, right? And to look at the root cause, we have to continue asking ourselves why. Why is this happening until we can't ask why anymore?
Right.
Anita basically saying impeach Hochul. Kathy, there are limits on who's getting out. Certain crimes are not eligible for early release. These are nonviolent, right? Absolutely. Those are the facts. Rosemary, there won't be staffing levels if Hochul would have met the COs and listened to them. Sarah, good morning to you. Already, as it is with bail reform, people are getting arrested and released almost immediately. In this state, it feels like there's no repercussion for a crime. Let them out, and most will be back almost just as quick. I'd love to know what victims' families think. That's a great point, too.
It's honestly a good perspective. I would love to hear what their thoughts are on this. And you saw during the strike, they had to do something even then. They had to act quickly and figure out, how do we move these inmates? How do we get them to other prisons? They really got to shuffle people around because the numbers are just not adding up to the way that things need to be.
Rosemary says there wouldn't be staffing levels if Hochul would have met with the COs and listened to them. I think I brought that up before. Noreen's comment here. So the inmates win and the employees lost. Unreal. Jenny, okay, so let me be real. A family member of mine that was at Collins had time to cheat on my aunt with another CO on... Whoa! These are wild allegations. Show me the receipts.
Ed asks for receipts, and then he sees receipts, and he's like,
yikes.
Ruh-roh.
Spill the tea, Jenny.
Kimberly says things need to change on the inside in order for people to even want a CO job. And I wonder what this means for the future. If this is where we are now, moving forward, what's going to happen? What?
Jenny says, yep, it's my uncle. Wait, so your uncle's in jail, or your uncle is the one who cheated? Or is the CO?
Uncle cheated on her aunt with a CO on duty.
Whoa. Keep it going. Show me the receipts. Bring me the proof.
Oh, gosh.
Lisa, as I say, the inmates are prisoners, not slaves. There's a difference between the two. I'm not sure, Lee, what kind of distinction you're trying to draw here, but certainly happy to share your voice. He's a CO and cheated with another CO on duty in the prison. What? Name names, Jenny.
No, Jenny. We're gonna save this for the Thanksgiving dinner.
Jenny from the block. So funny. Dear Lord.
Good gracious.
She's on a mission.
Someone said build more jails or build more prisons, Anita.
Girl, we know.
Boy.
Elizabeth says, I fell into my family and I'm always pro-inmate rights, but seriously, stop acting like the COs are just supposed to go with the flow. She needs to start listening to the boots on the ground and fix what's messed up. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to put it, right? I mean, like you said, we have to keep asking why. Let's get to the root of the problem instead of just putting some kind of Band-Aid solution. Okay, well, let's get rid of a couple inmates. Let's see how that works. Okay, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's actually get to the root of the problem and what the issue is and why we are where we are before we start doing other things.
Right,
you know?
and how do we fix a system that might be broken? There are certainly ways to go about it. But unfortunately, in New York, there's so much bureaucracy that it takes a lot of time to cut through the BS. Yikes! Oh no! Okay, can we pause for a second? These are two consenting adults who both were working that were in some sort of an affair. Is that what I'm understanding here?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, so it's not like the CEO is having an affair with an inmate.
No.
Okay, so these were... then it is what it is, in my opinion.
And they got caught.
What were they doing and where?
Oh, gosh. Anita.
My ears are ringing. Yikes. Second cup? Nah, second tea.
Oof.
Was that story on Cinemax? Yeah, we were all watching it through the color bars in our tube TVs. That does happen too, Ed.
Is that the same thing as book on tape?
Do you remember that?
What?
Like watching Cinemax through like the color bars?
I don't know what you're talking about.
John, do you know what I'm talking about here? Oh, come on.
No.
What is it you're saying? So like through like there's like the bars or whatever, like the
So,
slate?
okay, before the advent of HDTV, we all watched TV on these 4x3 boxes or 4x6. I don't know. They were, I think 4x3. And there was you would just turn the channel instead of having to go through like this whole menu like we do right now on streaming.
Uh-huh.
And in going through, you would just go through all the channels that you got from the cable provider. And sometimes if you didn't get Cinemax or you didn't get HBO, there would be like these wavy color bars that would block out the channel, but sometimes it didn't.
So you got it even though you didn't pay for it?
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I know what Ed's
Thank
talking
you. Exactly.
Skinemax, what were they showing on this?
What is... I'm so glad we all know.
Is this After Dark television?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you.
I was watching Nick at Night.
Yeah. Oh my God. I am that old. I know what he's talking about. Thank you.
I
But we're not
don't
that
know what
old.
that is.
We're just of a certain age. Your dad's laughing. And then the period at the end of the sentence here, also getting paid on duty to have an inmate affairs messed up while they cry about everything. They felt safe that day. Clearly, this was a few years back. Whoa.
Woo!
Well, we gotta get the show on the road here.
Happy Wednesday, guys.
I'm so glad we feel comfortable with each other on this forum, and we're
You know,
grateful to share your voice.
I just told my grandmother to start watching this.
Oh no!
I hope she's not watching today.
Poor grandma. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.